So we are here for session 2 of our 4-part series. We're still talking about Haruki Murakami's The Elephant Vanishes. So today, so last time the theme was, do you remember the theme of last
The
session?
encounter.
The encounter. And then today, as I was actually walking from the main gate to come all the way here, and then I suddenly remember this song just came to me. If you know the Beatles, it's called "I Will." Do you know the song?
We took an entire semester on the Beatles.
Oh, what?
Yeah, we did I did a semester on British rock.
And yet you
I don't
do
know
not
that
know
song.
"I Will." Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the song. Anyways, it's that to me was really the kind of a song that the second story on seeing the 100% girl, that encounter. So I suggest that you listen to that song, and if you know the very famous novel by Murakami is called The Norwegian Wood, which is a Beatles song again. So because I don't know if you know, but he's very, very musical, Murakami, and he's very conscious of all genres of music, and the Beatles appear in his stories very often, and I just was very happy to make that unconscious connection. I wasn't thinking, and suddenly the song came to me, and then I realized, it's kind of in response to the second story that we talked about last time. In any case, so that was the encounter, and today's session I titled "Man's Gift." And Alex is smiling. You said, no, is smiling. So I guess my question for you will be what did you think was the gift? So that we'll come to later on. But immediately we see a connection between the kangaroo communique last time and a window today, which is?
Correspondence over letters.
Yeah.
Written correspondence.
Yeah. Letter. What the significance of the letter writing, right? So that's something to think about. And the story, actually, the narrator comes out to tell us the main point of this story. How does he say it? He says, the question here.
Oh.
Should I have slept with her?
Yes. So the story basically delivers the thing that we have to think about. So that's the question for him. And then he doesn't quite explain why that is. And we are here smart enough not to go down that, path of, he's just, guy who just wants to, get laid. We don't, right? We don't want to do that. So we have to think, what else is there. And then the last line, which is very, very Murakami, it's like this Zen rhythm of just being there, forgetting yourself, forgetting the world. And then in that forgetting, in that kind of being emptied, right, he just doesn't contain him anywhere. There appears this person, and with a particular kind of demand, and yet it's a different kind of demand than the demand that we talked about last time. The demand last time we talked about how it's like a demand, when you're facing the other, you're making a demand. But in the end, the demand is always demand of love. Love in the sense that, you're recognized as whatever it is that you are. But here the demand is not that kind of demand. It's of course it has that dressing of that appearance, but it's something much more profound, right? So we can summarize that as another question, like, what does that woman want from him? It's a very strange encounter, right? She invites him into her house, and then goes up upstairs, and then this room that is locked, and then she unlocks it, and then he goes in, and then she has this weird request, like open the closet, you know. So what is she doing? What does she want? So that will be our, you know, the second question. Okay, so yeah, what did you think of a window?
I think the fact that she was older than him was interesting, kind of like with the second story, because it's a different dynamic. I think towards the end, he also talks about how they were talking about like life experiences, and because he's so young, he doesn't have any or many. But then she would just like take over the conversation and kind of like lead him.
Yeah, and yet she treats him like, I mean, obviously when they're corresponding, they do not know. I mean, she does not know how old he is. She assumes that he's much older, so she's surprised when she actually meets him. He's just a college student. But even when they meet, I don't think her attitude toward him changes much. There's a certain like unquestioned trust, and she tells him like, I wrote to you about my problem. So that one line already tells us what kind of writing she was producing. It's a kind of demanding writing, if that makes sense. It's of course it doesn't look like a demand because it's a stranger. She doesn't know what he looks like, and yet she was already talking about her problem in these letters.
I think Murakami does a really good job of making you question your own perception when you're reading these stories, because at the end of the story he leaves us off at should I have slept with her. It kind of makes you question like the whole process through your reading. Like when they first meet at the door, it's like, oh, I was surprised by her youthful appearance and she was surprised by my age, and then like the wife is like, oh, my husband doesn't come home until like very late, and it's like while you're reading it, it's like okay, and then you read the end and it's like, oh wait, was she trying to like, and was he also physically attracted to her? But then you think like, did I actually think that while I was reading this, or like is this just retroactively what I think because of he mentions like should I have slept with her? But like I think definitely it was like implied that the woman, okay, I shouldn't say definitely I guess, but I think it was very much implied that the woman would have liked him to stay and like sleep with her, and like that's why I think he questions it himself at the end. But I don't know, the Hamburg steak, like, does that serve as some kind of metaphor because of like how prominent it was, and like the music, everything just, it feels like you've seen it like 1,000 times somehow, like the classic like lonely housewife and like young man thing, and it's like, I wonder if like this trope is actually a trope, because this was like set in the 80s. So like I don't think that was like a thing back then, but like is this just like, is there a feeling in this kind of language that makes us perceive it as such, or is like this scene just like familiar to us because of media, or like,
But does it seem so unbelievable?
No,
right?
That's the thing. Yeah.
So in a way, maybe it doesn't take a kind of cultural trend. It's just something that happens, right? But in any case, I mean, when she's, she sounds almost desperate when she says, "No, my husband doesn't come until midnight." So there's that. But then it doesn't mean if he were to actually sleep with her, it's not that he would take advantage of her. So somehow the text achieves this sensitivity for the college student's character. So that's the question: how does the text achieve that? We don't feel like, oh, so he's thinking, although this came up in some classes, some female students were unhappy. they were like, oh, so he just, he thinks, he regrets. But I think that's not a very that's not the most interesting reading. It's not a charitable reading. I think there are many other ways to go about it. So how do you think the text achieves that idea that he's thinking this not as a kind of regret, like, oh, I should have. No, it's like as if he should have done this as a good thing. He almost feels like he's regretting because he failed to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like it almost feels like he's questioning if it was an obligation for him to do so, because like he seems so like disinterested. Like he answers in a way to like not to appease to the woman, but like to make her happy. Basically, like it's like he's doing a continuation of like his job as the pen master, like. Even when they're in person, like he says, I don't recall any of whatever she wrote to me, but I'm just like, and yet he still says like, oh yeah, all your writing really helped me too, and it's like he's doing a lot of lip service basically, and it's like, no, so he's continuing to do his job even when it's not over writing, and then when he leaves, because he thinks that to himself, like, I think it feels like he's wondering, was that also part of my job? Like,
I mean, it's related to what I was thinking, but not so much it's part of his job.
Yeah, like obligation, I guess.
Yeah,
more like.
yeah. I mean, but the obligation not given by the company.
Yeah.
So what kind of obligation is it? That's my question. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, like I didn't feel like it was part of his job.
Yeah.
You know, like and like to the point just now about like the sexuality between the both of them. Like when you said that you only retroactively felt like there was a sexual tension.
Yeah, I didn't know if I had felt it in the time while I was reading or retroactively. Like, I was kind of like on the.
I think throughout, I felt.
Yeah,
like a sexual tension between them.
Like I want to say that too, but like it just I'm just hesitant to say, oh, I knew it all along because of that last line.
Yeah. But like, I don't know, like if anything, I felt the opposite. Like instead of the guy exploiting the woman, I felt it was like the older woman exploiting the man. You know, like even this is like sort of like just like a reading that's sort of just like there at the surface level or whatever. But like I felt like you know, like she invited him and then she cooked like this perfect hamburger steak, you know, for him to like eat like this, like a starving, like this, you know, young adult, you know. It felt like I don't know, like we were talking about Norwegian Wood, I guess, like at the end of Norwegian Wood,
yes.
with that
Reiko,
older woman, It felt kind of like that, you know, like this dynamic.
Yeah. And we also see that in the second story where he says that just one time I slept with, you know, one of those housewives, you know. And there, the description actually fits what you're kind of suspecting here, because he says she turned out all the lights and closed all the curtains, and then she wouldn't let me touch her anywhere, you know. So this is really, it looks like she's just using him, right? But she's not complaining there either. But here I think we have something a little bit more. I think we should give a little more credit to the woman because they met through writing.
I think during the service or during like him responding to her letter, she's assuming that he's older, right?
Right.
She's assuming that he is a more mature or on the position of guidance rather than a younger male. Because based on what he said about his writing, he's not good at it, right? He thinks all the clients writes better than his, but they all happily receive his opinion of making their letter, I would say, less making their letter like worse. How do you say it? Like, because his suggestion, like if I suggest like you or Eric, assuming you guys are a better writer than I do, my suggestions might make your letter like worse or something. So it's not definitely improving, right? So it means they're just looking for like responses from a guidance position. They're not looking for other things.
but but it turns out that she was looking for
Yeah,
something beyond that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that if we don't look them as housewives or like very mature women, if we could put them at the position of girls, right, they will have different incentives
Mm-hmm.
because they are on a spot of a to look for guidance. They're not on a spot look for domination, right?
Yeah, and yet, so when she sees him, she realizes this is a young guy, but the way she interacts with him, I don't think her attitude toward the pen master has disappeared. She still seems to be, although she does make a suggestion, you should do something that, lets you write, for your profession, blah, blah, blah. But I guess the point is, why is it that if she's wanting something more than just tips on how to write, what is it about writing that allows that kind of searching, not to say demand, right? It's not that she immediately wants sex, nothing like that. In a way, sex is something which is really well done. Towards the end of the story, we see that sex kind of comes as a natural consequence of what has built up through this relationship of writing, which takes us right back to the kangaroo communique, where the guy hasn't even seen the girl, but he wants to sleep with her, he says. So something, I think, Murakami, his sexuality is hinting at this something about writing that does this, serves our sexual relation, the possibility of sexual relationship, let's say. So, for instance, I don't know, if jump in whenever you have. Do you have something now?
Not right now.
Yeah. So, when he meets her, he says something very interesting. So he says on 192, if you want to go there, he says, second to last paragraph. We ate our hamburger steak and drank coffee, feeling much like two would-be passengers who had missed the same train.
I was thinking, kind of like, cause like those stories usually it feels like those moments are filled with magic, and they're really wonderful. Almost feels like you're falling in love, but it's just the moment, and you're probably never gonna meet that person again, and so you don't exchange contacts. Kind of like you just respecting it for what it is. That's what it reminded me of, because especially with passengers, it's just so coincidental, the contingency that comes with life. That's
Right.
what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
I think the thing about writing and sex that Murakami kind of evokes in these stories, it feels to me not that I'm the preeminent master of knowing what goes into and what does not into sexual relations, but it feels like there's a modern problem these days, problem with trying to find love and or physical relationships is it comes with a lot of anxiety, and I think text correspondence is a realm where you can kind of do away with that entirely, and I think that the way in which people communicate without anxiety affords for the buildup of sexual energy a lot more than just day-to-day meetings, or in a different way at least. And there's the absence of being concerned about how you look, being concerned about how you smell, being concerned of how you sound when you're just talking over writing. So I think in that way, that's part of what he's trying to say is this writing has as a sense of communication without periphery, I think it's the mode of communication that humans have access to that has the least periphery. I'm sure there's handwriting and there's neatness of writing, I guess, and grammar, whatnot, that kind of can shows part of who a person is. But in terms of two people communicating to each other, writing gives room for the least amount of periphery, and that comes with a lot less anxiety. Ergo, you know, like you can feel like you want to sleep someone a lot easier through writing.
And yet, if you remember in the kangaroo communique, he notices not so much what words she uses, but it's the commas, but also he says, I even the smudges, the ink smudges on the paper. That's kind of like what you're saying. Do I smell bad? You know, all that. It's the materiality of that relation with, I guess, yes, it's probably less. It's less anxiety provoking than actually being with someone body to body. But then his appreciation of the letter is extremely material. It's not abstract. It's not. It doesn't take him away from the person as a body. It kind of creates this a new channel back to the body because it's kind of slowed down. It's slower than an actual immediate encounter. In a way, it prepares the body. Yes, maybe it reduces the anxiety a little bit, but more than that, I feel it really makes the senses more vibrant. Your senses are more ready to absorb the other as this material existence, the body that exists. So it's almost like a wonderful practice, right? Before meeting the person. Of course, there's the dimension of fantasy. Yes, there's that. But the way he appreciates the letter does kind of away with fantasy. It's really more to treat the letter as a part of the person, as this thing, object. So in a way, we can almost say that, to go back to what you guys were saying, you know, like maybe it's part of his obligation. It's almost like sleeping with her would have completed the act of the entire encounter, right? Because that's the natural endpoint of what they have built together. I don't know. How do you feel?
I was curious. Like this may be like this is a little irrelevant, but to what we just talked about. Like why, for example, in Kangaroo Communique, the letter that we were talking about was this letter that completely did not reveal the person within the letter. But then in these letters, it's almost like the complete opposite.
Good. Yeah. What do you think? Because she even talks about her problem, as she says, you know, I wrote to you about my problem. Obviously, he may not even remember, right? Because he has many people in his charge, so he doesn't really have any comments about that. It's her who remembers what she wrote.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of her in these letters. So what do you think?
I was thinking, kind of reminded me of the other story from the semester where he called her a lady, and it was about Joanna. Do you remember this story?
Yes.
Yeah, so like he called her a lady,
Yeah.
and in that moment she became one.
Yeah.
And
Yes, good,
since
good.
she's a housewife,
Yeah, she's talking about this feminine writings that
And-
another course. I'm sorry. Yeah.
and since she's a housewife, and we discussed how being just a housewife without
Not
an identity-
housewife, house maid. She was a maid of the.
Yeah. Oh, but she's a housewife.
Yes.
Which is then closer to like Georgia, and from the first story where we talked about like how being just a housewife can be, without another identity, can be very like you feel incomplete as a person. And I was thinking maybe through this writing and her like her problem, she was looking for someone who could like help her to be someone, tell her
Right.
who she is. Maybe.
And how do you think the text, for the lack of a better, does it honor that wish? Does the text honor her wish to be given some kind of, some sense of identity from this penmaster. Do you think the text?
I was thinking so, because
Yeah.
when she talked about she wanted to be a writer,
Mhm.
and then apparently he told her that I don't know if he was like straight up about it, but he was really embarrassed when she was like, "Oh, it's okay." He told me like I don't really have the talent for it, but like she was like,
Yeah, she said she realized.
oh, she realized.
Yeah, in the correspondence, because she could see how well he writes. In a way, she's like, wow, I'll never be able to write like this. So in any case, she realized that she couldn't be a writer.
Yeah, I think it kind of like he gave her a point of reference outside the household to be someone.
Right. So to be someone in this case is to realize that she can't be a writer.
I think somewhat.
It reminds me of I'm going back to like courses again from the semester, but
Yeah.
what is it? With her K,
Hair K.
Hair K.
Yeah.
and when he says, I get nothing from my wife.
Right.
I read that too.
You read Dora with me? I
No,
don't
no,
remember.
my other professor.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah.
But it just reminded me of that so much when we were talking about it right now. Just like
Yeah. Yeah.
like I didn't even get this impression when I was reading it, but
Right,
like
right.
when Moritz was bringing that
Yeah.
up about like the searching for identity or something.
But the point here is actually she's the one who says you won't get nothing. You won't get anything from me. You will get nothing from me, which is interesting because in the second story, the girlfriend. That's also the most important part of that text, where the girlfriend says, "I cannot imagine what I can give you." In other words, you get nothing from me. So something about this guy that provokes this reaction in women who feel they have nothing they can possibly give him. This is very important. Right? But in any case, in her case, she's basically saying, so the text, what we get at the end of the story is this kind of melancholy. You cannot imagine that this woman is going to go on to become happier. We don't get any sense of her future becoming better. She's gonna be living with this husband who comes home at midnight, kind of like the woman in The Green Monster. That you like the story. The little green monster, if you remember that, we're not discussing it here, but there the woman is sitting there all day, she has nothing to do, and yet she's not curious about anything. So when this little monster appears, what she does is to kill it. So you kind of see maybe she will turn into that woman, except that she probably won't go that far because she knows something about writing. Although I don't know if she's going to continue to write.
This is this is a lot more shallow, but like specifically this line, like my feelings don't get through to him. A lot of time I feel like we're speaking two
Right.
different languages when he's
Exactly.
talking about her husband. Like the thing about writing, going back to like writing as a medium again, is like if they're corresponding through letters, you can't get that impression where you're speaking two different languages, especially since this person is obligated to directly respond to what you've written and like even provide clarifications for what you've written. So it's like, if anything, you're speaking as much of the same language as you can. So like, it feels like she has this need for communication, like where it's just, and the interesting thing is, why does the society assign opposite genders to each other? Like, why is that a thing? Like,
That's the very important point. So that means we don't know why, but what can we get? What's the textual significance of that detail?
naturally people, like, since they're a business and they want more business, like they found that people are more inclined to write to the opposite gender.
I mean, that's the business side.
Yeah.
But textual side, what would be, I mean, already building on what we talked about last time, you should have some answers.
The
Yeah.
phallic compared to the other
What?
Jewish songs? Where like the masculine logic compared to the feminine logic, like there's this natural misalignment of language, I think.
I mean, I'm sure there's that, but since we cannot go into the details of this theoretical part, but yes.
I
that's
actually have a
okay.
question. So,
Yeah.
as Alex said, so she is writing to a male, right?
Right.
While she said she cannot communicate with her husband.
Right.
So I was wondering if she's checking or looking for answers of the possibility of the correctness or the absurd of her language, like looking for some not certainty but just response.
Oh, I'm sure there's a little bit of that.
Yeah, because what I'm thinking was that if she cannot communicate well with her husband, then I mean there will be some like disappointment, right? Or so.
With the husband?
Yeah. Like,
Yeah, so obviously she's already thoroughly disappointed.
yeah, like, but I think that this point is toward herself somehow. So she writes to a male, like a male, like just ask her husband to check if like that disappointment is valid or not.
I see. So you're saying she's kind of trying to improve herself, her own language, so that she can.
No, she's just trying to check if there's, like, just make it straight. Is there anyone in this world that can understand my language?
Yeah, yeah.
Right, and then it's gonna be similar to the kangaroo communique, that one's language matches the other one's. There's some like sexual motivation on the back, like as you mentioned before. Probably the match on or the understanding of language comes way ahead from the physical desire.
And yet, that's the thing. In a way, this idea, this complaint that he and I seem to speak two different languages, as if she believes that they should speak the same language. Do you believe you can speak the same language with another person?
I was thinking same-sex, yes. Because like, when we were talking about like last time, like desiring the same way, I think maybe that would give clarity.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, interesting.
Because like that's why I referenced the phallic compared to the other Jewish songs.
Yeah.
I thought it's about that.
Yeah.
But also like the saying like speaking two different languages, that's actually how in Germany parents would explain to their kid why they're getting a divorce.
That they don't speak the same language.
Yeah, but that's what they
Yes,
usually say.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, without going deeply into the theoretical depth of all this, difference is kind of what woman kind of carries. In other words, when as Lacan somewhere says, anyone who loves a woman is heterosexual, whether man or woman. Which means hetero, that difference is with woman. So what you're saying makes sense at that level. Like, same-sex lovers, maybe if they're male, two gay men, maybe they do speak the same language. Maybe that's why somebody said the other time, like, the divorce rate, the gay couples is much lower, than, anyways, I'm not going to finish the sentence, but the point, there is something there. But as a woman, to want that, if she's a woman and she wishes that she could speak the same language as her husband, means she's kind of missing something about being a woman.
She's not mysterious.
She's not what?
Mysterious.
Oh, mysterious.
She or in a way,
I mean, because if I'm writing to like words,
Mm-hmm.
I can just write like random things that never happened to me,
Mm-hmm.
and like just creating new identity that I want to show to others,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's like if I send a letter,
Right.
and then that's for me that's like alienated to my real life, right?
Mm.
It doesn't relate. It's not related.
Mm.
It's like a lot more linguistic.
I mean, like, I feel like this particular story has a lot on the one-sidedness of communication. Like, there's a stark contrast in like what the woman is saying and what the guy like does, because like either he or like the company he's working for makes him do it. Like, she says like, I keep all of your letters, and then like he earlier on said that the company doesn't let us keep any of the letters, and like, you know, she says like, oh, I remember everything you wrote to me, and she says like, oh yeah, and then he says, I enjoyed writing to you too, and then like in the description it's like, when in fact I hardly remember anything I wrote to her. And it's I don't know if it's like the contrast should be male female or if there's like some other symbolism there, but there's a very obvious one-sidedness of communication, and yet they're talking to each other, and that somehow leads to maybe we should have had sex, which I think is like it's a really interesting part of this text, how that like one-sidedness leads to.
So in a way, it's kind of, we can. I mean, I'm sure some one kind of feminist reading of the story would be like, you see how housewives were so alienated and they didn't have the freedom to do blah blah blah, and yet what we get is this kind of this business that kind of preys on that kind of loneliness, and then these guys write letters kind of indiscriminately because they don't know these women, and then they would probably like, if one of the women would approach them, they would be like, oh, are you kidding me? I was just writing letters, You see what I'm trying to say? That would be more kind of a commercial kind of attitude. So for him to ask, should I have slept with her, makes him actually stand out from that crowd.
So I have a question. So when she writes him, it's a demand and response, and response, right? It's an interaction. But when she said, oh, my husband is gonna be like late coming back, that's another demand delivered, right? But he doesn't respond.
But in a way, because I mean, that's a very tricky point, right? What if, I mean, especially today, I don't think you would want to take that risk of responding to that.
Yeah, but this was
right?
way before.
Yes, but then, the subject is a subject, meaning he can't be sure what's going on. When he asks, should I have slept with her? It's not so much to say, oh, maybe she was asking for it. No. You see what I'm trying to say? He's asking that question purely out of his own evaluation of what has happened, and he feels like he didn't do the last bit that would have actually completed the entire encounter. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Eric, you're thinking. What are you thinking?
I'm still thinking.
Yeah. Is that weird?
I was thinking if that is when because when she was looking at the clock and like it's almost like she was examining time.
Yes.
She was waiting for his initiation. I thought. So she was waiting for something to happen.
I love that. But then that actually reminded me of precisely the woman in the Green Monster. She's basically just counting time.
Isn't that weird? Like she's just free and she has someone to have sex? Or she have some relationship and like to spare her time?
Are you talking about the Green Monster or this one?
This one.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's that scene, I think, is supposed to be not a plot point. It's not a plot point where she's thinking, is he going to approach me? No, I think it's that really represents how she exists in the world. She counts time.
Not to derail too much, but like this job apparently pays 2,000 yen per letter.
That's a
And
lot.
Isn't that like $200? A little less than
No. That's more $20.
Per
Wait,
letter?
2,000 yen? Isn't like
Yeah,
1
2,000.
yen like a cent? Like, isn't 100? Isn't like 1 yen 10 won basically?
No,
Or am I kidding?
no. So 100 yen is like a dollar.
Yeah.
It's like
Oh.
So
So
that's like
2,000 is
$20.
$20.
Yeah.
But then
yeah.
it was in the 80s.
Yeah.
So we're thinking probably like closer to 5,000 then. 5,000. I mean $50.
Yeah, and like he has 24 correspondence, 4 letters per month. That's like 96 letters, basically 100. 100 times 20. He's getting $2,000 per month back in like the 80s.
That's a lot of money.
That's a
right?
lot of
Think
money.
about it.
Like, where do I
But
get
he's
this
also
job?
kind of a superstar. He's very popular.
Yeah, like it comes like naturally to him.
Yeah.
His writing.
Yeah, which is why we know he's not faking. There's something authentic in every letter he writes, even when he just. I mean, even the hamburger steak letter. If you look at it, it's simple, and yet you just feel like something genuine there.
Wait, can we switch the spot, like the position of this housewife to Kangaroo Communicate?
How?
Like, because he is, like, when I was reading it this morning, I was like, oh God, he is like college student, is not like, he's not like polluted by the society, like he's such a pure figure for those like sophisticated women, and he's just gonna be the letter that the men receive. Like his letter to those women is gonna be the letter that the worker in Kangaroo Communicate receive. Like it's gonna be some like pure and like perfect or unpolluted figure that just drive to sexual intention. So I won't get surprised if this lady says something like, oh, when I read your letter, I feel some sexual intention, right? I think that's how they are
Right.
similar.
Except I think I mean we haven't read enough to authorize what I'm about to say, but if you read enough of his stories, you think that perhaps when a woman reads a letter, she's not going to read the way that guy was reading her letter in Kangaroo Communicate. Meaning where he's going by the material signs of the person. It's the commas, it's the smudges. That's what he goes for. When a woman reads a letter, based on the characters that I can think of, they go for the meaning of the letter. Does this? I mean, which comes down to, let's say, I mean, there can be many different kinds of meaning, but perhaps in the end, does this guy like me? It can be a kind of ultimate meaning. Does this person care about me? That kind of, in other words, it's a kind of reading that already demands. As I said, demand is always demand for love. Maybe I've said too much because it's kind of we haven't read enough to say that, but because just because the letter a letter can excite someone sexually or evokes love or whatever, but that doesn't mean it's gonna be the same kind of effect that produces that sexual excitement. In other words, for her, maybe the signs of him caring for her would have been sexually exciting. But for the guy in the Kangaroo Communique, it's the letter that has nothing of the person. How can someone use language this way? This is enough to excite him sexually, which is two very different ways of reading. Right?
I think like there's something that alludes to that kind of thinking in the text itself. Like, the letters they're sending to me seem to me, strangely divorced from reality, seemed at times to be utterly meaningless. And then like, I realize now that the reality of things is not something you convey to people, but something you make. So it really shows the in this story at least, the man's attitude towards like the letters he's receiving, where it's just, I don't know if he like, because surely the letters that are written by a bunch of lonely housewives had some content. Like
Right.
there's no way that they would be writing in such abstract ways that they would like lack cohesion. But like yet he's saying they're all meaningless. So you kind of have to think what he means when he says meaning. So like maybe this is like for him the form or like the like because for him like their meanings don't coincide. So like he can't get anything from reading their letters.
Yeah, we can say that, or he's basically saying, to use her later phrase, to want that you speak the same language with the other person is a meaningless wish. Do you see what I'm trying to say? It's not so much that I speak a different language from you, therefore I cannot understand what meanings you're producing there. It's more like to want that means nothing to me.
Oh, so because like if we understand in the context that these letters are all written by lonely women who like are striving for that kind of connection.
Probably,
In
yeah.
that context, he's saying they're all meaningless because you know
Yes.
that act itself, that desire is meaningless.
Yeah, and we can almost, to push it further, we can almost say that in that narrow context, he's more feminine than her.
Oh.
Do you see what I'm
I
trying to
think
say?
that's kind of like, I don't know if that's what I felt, but like there was something about the dynamic with her being older and being in charge,
Mhm.
kind of the situation,
Mhm.
and him being there. Is that what you mean with him like being the more feminine?
No, it's this, the way he approaches writing is more feminine than how she does it. So in other words, he's open to the fact that this is subjective condition where he cannot speak the same language as the other, which means he's allowing for that difference.
Because he's the receiver, right? So he has to be more open to the other's communication.
Receiver of the letters, that's why?
Yeah.
Well, perhaps, but I guess I'm thinking about the character, like based on the overall kind of textual presentation of the character, where even this idea, you know, like should I have slept with her, which means nothing is concluded. He's still living the consequence of that encounter, which means you don't recognize an encounter as such unless you know something about difference. You allow something of difference. So that's what I mean by him being more feminine. He's much more in touch with difference. So seeking meaning is always, by definition, seeking closure, which means to get rid of difference. You know, when you define the meaning of a situation, that means now it's all settled, right? And he's not doing that. He's still in that space where he's kind of figuring out what it was. You know, what should I have done? You know, I don't know. Does that
So
make
like
sense?
in the kangaroo communique, when like the letter like demands nothing, or like it's just like sort of as is, because like you don't find the person within the letter, like there's no person to like, I don't know, like to delegate meaning to words, like an author to delegate meaning to words, like it's more in line with how the man in this story is. Like what I'm trying to say is, like in this story, because the letters by the woman are so like personal and like they're so demanding
Right.
for their own like I don't know, like salvation maybe, but like in the kangaroo communique, the letter from the woman is so devoid of like any sort of demand that it's hard, like this idea of like meaning that sort of defines the world of the letter is sort of absent when there is sort of like no author.
Right. And yet, if but that doesn't mean, I know you don't mean it that way. It doesn't mean the letter was so abstract, so free of so free of the person. It's not so much that, it's more like the person is there in the and he's finding the person in the smudges, in the commas, right? So the person is there, but then it's not the kind of subject that is looking for meaning. The letter writer herself, she's not asking for anything, right? So there's no, you don't know what the meaning of the letter is, and yet, so it's like it's a letter that is somehow so, it's so present in its material existence, and yet it's not asking to be defined. It's not asking for meaning, or it's not even offering any meaning. So in that sense, the letter kind of frees the reader. The letter invites the reader to do whatever they want to do with it. And this is exactly what the
first
I
letter,
know
right?
what you're thinking. I'm not gonna say it, but I know what you. But yeah, kangaroo communique. Yes.
What is he thinking?
Like sleeping with the letter.
You put that in my head last session. Like, I was just-
That's your fault, Lawrence. I don't know.
What?
Oh,
Oh, my
But
word?
you said
you
yeah.
started
Yeah, you
it,
started
and then
you said it during. Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you said it.
I just
So-
heard do whatever you want with it. I was like, oh my god.
yeah. But so in other words, it's so. I'm saying this because this is related to the second story. So it's so present, that letter, the woman's letter in the kangaroo communique. It's so present, and yet it's also completely lacking. So it's that coincidence of something very present and yet so empty. That coincidence is kind of a definition of this guy too, which is what we're gonna see in the second story. How does he do it? Like so present in his existence that the girlfriend says, "There's nothing I can give you," which is to say what? You don't lack anything.
Oh, so the perfection of the...
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you are fine though. We talked about narcissism when I mentioned, the letter in the kangaroo communique, a kind of narcissistic object. And I said, we need to be careful here. We don't mean narcissism like in the way, I'm not narcissism, right? So there's a lacking demand, and we see that with this character in the second story where the girlfriend feels like there's nothing I can give, and yet the other woman, the housewife, what is there some kind of secret communication?
No, I was thinking about the story.
Okay. So, yeah. So, and yet the other woman, the housewife, feels she can take something from him. So that's a very interesting kind of, it's not paradox, it's contradiction, definitely. Some kind of contradiction in the character.
So one writes nothing for a metaphysical reason, and the other one is like demanding for something out of knowledge. I'm just joking, right?
I'm glad you're joking because I didn't understand that.
Yeah, me too.
No, I just mean that if you're like for the kangaroo communique, the letter meant to have demand, right? If it's what you're talking about, but it has no demand.
Right, yeah.
But for
yeah.
this one, it meant has like no demand for like literal thing, but it actually expressed demands. Also.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think that's what
Yes. That's exactly right.
Wait, what's the second half?
That it doesn't make any demands that you can actually read, and yet the letter is full of.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I'm not asking you to do anything for me. Just be yourself. That's very demanding. This is what.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not asking for anything, but
Yeah. There's no but really, It's just-
So like
yeah.
for like you mentioned like the term like hero for Murakami, the previous
Oh, boku.
session.
Yeah.
Like, because we see in these stories how like these men who we consider as like heroes, I guess,
Yeah.
like they're the almost like the feminine ideal.
I didn't say that.
No, but that's why I'm
Yeah.
trying to connect it, like, because in this story, because the man here is like we said is much more feminine
Right.
than the woman.
Yeah, in that approach to writing, yes.
So like the ideal for the hero is for him or like for them to approach or like for them to be like
Writer?
approach the
A
world
good
in a
writer.
feminine like a
Yeah,
good,
yeah. I mean, except that it's really interesting because his hero in Japanese is always the first person male pronoun boku. That's like I, but only I cannot say boku. It's only guys can say boku.
oh
So boku is the first person narrator that appears in most of Murakami's stories, but this boku is almost always sexually very potent, but also kind of withdrawn from the world. He doesn't talk much, and he somehow has something in him that, this is why I use the word gift. He has some gift to give to not some world in general sense, but to women. Just like in Norwegian Wood, you were saying Norwegian Wood at the end,
yeah.
he sleeps with Reiko. That's his gift. So something about, so this is where I'm gonna say something. Some people, you're getting ready.
Controversial.
Yeah, something controversial. Man's gift here is his sex. His sex or sexual act, his desire. What was that? The AC, okay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So in a way, we are looking at, I mean, this is of course probably, I shouldn't say of course, but for many female readers, this is a problem. I don't think they even see that. They just complain because women are kind of marginal, Was that scandalous?
Looking toward to me too.
You work for the school newspaper, so you would have a better sense of what
I'm
flies
gonna
and what
report
doesn't.
on this.
I have.
But I think. Oh, sorry. No.
No, it's fine. Do you want to say anything?
No. Go ahead.
Can we talk about it with the topic, with what we talked about before the class? About the difference between male and female on.
No!
Okay.
What?
We'll skip that.
Okay. Never mind.
We'll talk about it.
Can we talk about after class?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That should. I think that should not be recorded.
I mean, that if we were talking about, let's say, Freud, then we can talk about it because it's very important, but not in this context.
Okay.
So the point is, man's gift would be to actually desire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
And desire, when a man desires, of course, it is related to what he does with his body.
So what is it? Like going back to the comment just now about how like a lot of, not even just women, just like people in general, like when they read like Norwegian Wood, they view it like misogyny or delegating the woman to like like a secondary role or whatever. Like people say that a lot.
Yeah.
So what is it about? Because I feel reluctant to just dismiss that as like a
Right.
bad reading.
Yeah.
Of,
Although it is.
although it is. I feel reluctant to delegate it because I feel like it's a real sort of like reaction that people have,
Yeah.
whether it is a bad reading or not.
Right.
Like this like gut reaction to that kind of he wrote him of the man in Norwegian Wood, and then which inevitably sort of delegates, you know, like in like our contemporary, like whatever, like to like the secondary role. So like my question is like, what is it that makes people so almost disgusted,
Hostile? Yeah,
hostile,
yeah,
yeah, hostile towards that?
Yeah. I think I mean, you know that he's very popular. And it is true that there are more male fans than female fans. That's true, but still. But then also, what are women reading today? Have you?
Fiction,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
like
You know what kind of fiction they're
talk.
reading?
like smut,
What's smut?
like
Is
Like-
it the romance?
Like
romance
50 Shades of
novels?
Grey.
Yes, yes.
erotic.
Yeah.
They're extremely popular now. They're like selling like. I'm sorry to
Like
sound like
hotcakes.
hotcakes.
I already knew what you were
So-
going to say.
So, I mean, you know, I'm not saying that it's the same people, the people who criticize him and then they go back home and read Shades of Grey. I am not saying that, but I wouldn't rule out, you know, that possibility. But the point is, something about, you know, men desiring provokes this hostile reaction, but, you know, not to reduce, you know, not to simplify what Freud says, but when you are that reactive, you got to think about what might be on the other side.
But like, isn't smut also men desiring women, or is it okay because you're placed in the, you know, seat of the woman in that context where like?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I sometimes say, you know, the sexual harassment, I don't even think people talk about that word very much these days, but it was all over the place, harassment.
Yeah.
In a way, you know, if someone I find attractive harasses me, it's seduction. It's someone that I don't find attractive.
It's true.
It's
The office
harassment.
meme.
I don't know what they're talking about.
I know The Office. I haven't watched
There's
it
this
though.
popular meme.
Oh,
I know what you're
really?
talking
Oh.
about.
Like this really handsome guy when he says like, oh, you know, like the handsome guy in the office is like, oh, like you want to go out to lunch or something. It's like, or like he like compliments her.
Oh.
The woman is like, oh yes, of course. you
yeah.
know? But like if it's like a hideous sort of
Uh-huh.
man, and then the woman is like, oh, this is.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm
calling
feeling out.
HR.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But I mean, like men now, I think, are worse than like women who like read smut because they either don't read or they read like 50 ways to make yourself better.
Oh, I hate those
You know?
books. I hate those
But like
books
my
so
point
much.
is like
What do they mean by better, though?
like self-help is what I'm saying. Like
Successful?
men are reading like
Yeah, okay.
like what's that book? Like the power.
The Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Like, I hate that book. I hate it with like a burning
Yeah,
passion.
there's like this one book. There's like power of something. There's like power in it. But like my point
all those
is,
book titles are like pretty much the same,
yeah,
anyways.
my point is like it's hard for me to also explain it to just the book that people the things that people are reading right now. Like women are reading smut, but the men that are enjoying the men in these books are also like idiots. You know, like maybe not even us excluded. my point is like they're reading like self-help and whatever,
Yeah.
you know, which is I think is idiotic
Yeah.
in the fullest sense. But
Yes,
like
yes.
and then when like they're trying to meet a woman, then they start to read like Murakami because they think it's like the height of
What?
literature.
Wait, no,
Oh,
what?
I
Do
didn't
people
know.
do that?
I
You read Murakami to get a GF? What?
like this like performative, like, you know, like I'm not gonna get into that.
Oh, I know what you mean. I know what
Well,
you mean.
Yeah,
my
yeah.
point is like
Oh, success.
the men that are reading this are like who are enjoying these men in the books are also men
Yeah.
that are reading the lowest.
But then I also feel that I always go for signs of desperation. So my heart will go to the desperate party
What is that?
rather than the dismissive party.
I think men are
Yeah.
more desperate
Yeah.
in that
Yes.
context.
That's what I'm
definitely.
saying. I mean, I think I said it in our review session. I think men, when they cannot desire, when they're forbidden to desire, which I think seems to be the climate today, cultural climate, they die in a way.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, so they're desperate. Women can go on dismissing desire. It's possible. It's not recommended, but it's possible. So they won't die. But men would die of the absence of desire. So this is why you were asking, I think somebody was asking why I'm doing this with male students,
Yeah.
because you're more desperate.
Yeah.
That's pretty true.
Honestly, yeah.
Yep. That's true.
Like in what ways though? In what ways to be desperate?
In the culture has kind of turned against male desire. I'm not saying that men are great. I'm just talking about male desire, which is, I mean, yes, there's some Freudian prejudice here, but we talked a great deal about, but in a way, it's like our cultural discourse is such that we almost forget how sexual intercourse happens.
How does it happen? Can you clarify?
Can you
Like the
please
context,
explain?
I mean.
Hey, Professor, how are babies made?
No, because like nowadays, like it's all like through apps, or there's like dedicated spaces. But like back then,
No, there's no back then. It's number one condition is the male member erect.
you talk. Okay.
That, I'm sorry, you can't have sex without that first being there. Do you understand? This is why male desire is extremely important.
But I guess we've taken it as like
Some kind of,
violent.
yeah, exactly. But this is the art of his Norwegian wood, where you see, the very, kind of physically very fit hero who suffers because of the randomness of erection.
Oh yeah.
We get this in the second story.
Yeah, that
here
part
too.
was really
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, in other words, it's not, man of course enjoys by way of the organ, but man also suffers because of the organ's autonomy. You
Right.
can't always make it do what you want it to do. Sometimes it overperforms, other times it underperforms. This is what Freud means by castration complex, in part.
I guess.
Yeah.
Like let's say like in Norwegian Wood when like the scene where like they're in the hotel, I forget.
Right, yeah,
And then he sleeps with the girl.
yeah.
And then like here when like he just gets randomly erect.
Yes.
Like because a lot of people in Norwegian Wood, like when they read Norwegian Wood have a problem with that scene in the hotel.
Right.
And then like I guess if they would read this second story, they would also have a problem with the man just.
Yeah, why
getting-
does he have an erection?
Like Murakami writing about it.
But I didn't find that part like odd at all. Like, cause
Yeah.
doesn't that just
Yeah.
happen? Yeah.
Yeah, it just happens, like
Yeah.
like our like sorry to be blunt, but like our penis
No,
just
we
gets
call
erect.
them RFBs. Like
I don't know about we, but
me and my friends, basically. Yeah.
but like you just get erect. Like it's like that childhood story about
Yeah.
the boy who can't stand up because he has suddenly
It's
got
It's like,
erect.
hey, yo, what happened here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what
People
I
had a
mean by
problem with that part?
desperation. Like
Yeah.
culturally,
Oh my God.
we have kind of we have just turned against that whole male physiology, which is I mean, if it's really extremely cruel if you think about it. You're getting it's like a woman getting yelled at for menstruating, in a way,
Oh.
having periods.
So men are against for Iraq.
No. So I'm giving you a parallel because
Yeah.
I give you that example because that also appears in in Norwegian Wood where Midori, the other girlfriend, talks about can you imagine how many sanitary pads are being burned in that in their girls' school. She was the girls' school, which means that any given day in a month, how many girls are actually menstruating, which means so much garbage from that. So I really like that Murakami was able to actually juxtapose the kind of inanity of our physiology, both sides, both male and female. If you stop and think about it, it's just kind of it's just random and it's unfair, as to use the guy in the kangaroo communicate. He says it's unfair that I am me, So you see.
Another thing I'm following with with the but like with the random erections, if it's like that, if that's related to shame about having the body and the body rolling over you, being at the mercy of the body.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, let's hurry to the. Do we have enough battery
Yes, we
power?
do.
Yeah. Okay. So the one thing that I wanted to ask you guys, because he says he blushed, in that when he's visiting the woman's house, he's like, I blushed, and he says, these days I rarely blush, but back then I was blushing all the time. It's a line like that really touches me. I don't know. Do you guys blush? But we talked about it. How
I
because
can't
you're
really
so
blush.
tanned.
Yeah.
Maybe inside you're blushing, but it wouldn't show.
It just doesn't really show up on my cheeks.
But I don't know if something like that speaks to you when he says, because he is younger than you guys, right?
Yeah.
He's 18 or something. Right?
No, I think he's 20 something.
No, this one is 22.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
first
okay.
story is 18.
Well, he's still younger than
But
me.
he's
Oh
still
my
younger
God.
than me,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So I mean, something is very mature and at the same time very innocent. Do you find that at all? These
I don't
characters?
know. I mean, I still blush.
Okay.
No, it's
I
because
still, like noticeably blush.
It's messed up because like we just had the conversation about like erections. So when I saw that the blush passage, it felt to me like a metaphor because it's blood rushing to a part of your body. So like in that sense, like when I was younger, I blushed often. Now I don't blush as much anymore. Like, is that a metaphor? But like, I kind of feel ashamed of thinking that now because she explained it in such a nice way.
I think this takes some editing.
Probably.
we're gonna be
Okay.
famous. We put it right out.
Oh my
So-
god. Yeah.
What is it about the not blushing that is so innocent?
No, blushing. Because he's saying that now he doesn't blush
Yeah,
as an
yeah.
adult. But back in the day, he was blushing all the time. So he means, because one of the themes that comes up in Murakami's stories is this kind of a passage of time and how I am different now. This story, that actually aspect comes out very nicely in the Slow Boat to China, that story. We're not talking about it, but there you really see how the narrator, his first story is when he was a little boy and going to Chinese school to take an exam, and then through the university days, and then later this encounter with his classmate from back in the days, and he's now 30 something, he's married, he has no children, but he is suspicious of this stranger, and then he feels really kind of bad afterwards. Why does he feel bad? Because he confirms how he has become this kind of he's what's the word, kind of unfeeling, callous and jaded. So that theme of how one changes over time So if you're still blushing, that's bravo. That's great. Yeah, yeah.
So, because, like, my first reading was like, oh, like, you know, like it's a loss of innocence instead of
Yeah, I think so.
an innocence.
Oh, so the fact that he doesn't blush anymore now, that's the loss
Oh,
of
okay, okay,
loss of
okay.
innocence. Yes, yes. But the fact that he thinks about it and he feels melancholy about the fact that he doesn't blush anymore, that means he's actually more innocent than he
Yeah.
wants to give himself credit for, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. So, do you need a break or can we keep going?
I think I'm fine.
Okay. You
Okay.
need a break? Okay, yeah. So the second story, so good, it just transports you into this world where he's just, you know, you can just imagine him driving this truck with a radio, you know.
Yeah, it's so hot. Like,
Yeah, so hot.
Yeah, the scene was like so sexy in a way.
I mean,
Yes, exactly. It is very sexy.
I was literally like, wow, hello, Mr. Japanese mercy.
Japanese mosso, yeah, in the
Oh,
candid,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh
Yes,
my
yes,
god,
exactly.
they're like so similar.
Yeah.
But it's like the physical pleasure that he has
Yes,
was like
yes.
so similar to the sexual pleasure
Yeah,
that we should have right now, right?
yeah.
I mean, I could like almost like smell grass cutting
Yes.
and like the engine of the lawnmower, especially since I just mowed the lawn last week. So like, it was really nice because I had that context of like actual personal experience, and like I know what he's talking about when he's saying like, you know, clipping the grass and like it goes into the receptacle and then you have to empty the receptacle. Like, yeah, like I've done all that with my hands, and like it made the reading a lot more immersive, which
Yeah.
I think is just
You mow the lawn here?
no at my house.
Oh, like in your
In
house?
Korea.
Yeah, Korea.
Oh, you have.
Yeah, we live
A
in like,
lot?
we live in the mountains basically.
Oh wow.
He lives outside Seoul, so that's
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh right, you were doing the camera thing yesterday. You did it here. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was so
Yeah.
shocked by that.
We should all go out to your house.
Oh my god.
Take turns.
And because I knew we were going to talk about this today. When I walked out today, I passed by my lawn and I'm like, oh my god, I have to mow it again because it's rainy season, and
Right.
the difference between rainy season and typical season is that not only does grass grow faster, it also grows more irregularly. So like normally grass would grow really evenly like this, but like during when there's a lot of rain or it's really humid, grass just kind of grows like this.
Right.
So yeah, I know. No, this story just hit me on a really personal level.
Yeah. I mean, how did you? I mean, I now I see how you related to the character, but what did you think of the character? Did you find him attractive at all?
Or you have to check your notes to see.
Like, what did I say about the character? It just brought me back to like when I was younger in Istanbul. We had a lawn which we would mow, and then like the smell of the wet grass. I kind of like that. I think that's also what made me feel like a teenager again.
Yeah. Is it the kind of guy that? I mean, I think you guys are all wonderful. You don't need to be anything else. But I mean, does it make you feel like, oh yeah, he's a cool guy?
I mean,
no?
purely
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
purely on the level of
100%.
like
Okay.
he has the physique necessary for like, you know, that he can like pull off taking his shirt off while mowing the lawn. Like that is something I'm envious of, basically. Like I want to be able to do that.
I think, but like even if he was fat,
Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean like
and then
Yeah.
if he had the confidence of taking
Yeah.
it off, and then
Yeah.
still ooze that like
yeah.
aura, you know.
Yeah.
But like, it's I don't know, like it's like the typical like
Yeah, but-
struggle of like I'm a heterosexual man.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be him, but at the same time, I
Like,
kinda
hey
wanna
yo,
fuck him.
yeah. No, but like the atmosphere is like it's so bro coded because like hot summer day, cold beer, mowing the lawn shirtless with a radio that you're like listening to
Yeah.
music on. It's like it's everything that a guy would find attractive in another guy, I think.
Man
Like
crush, yeah.
beyond the homosexual like level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Beyond the
exactly.
homosexual.
Like boy crush, you know, the same way girls can have girl
Yeah.
crushes.
Oh, how did you feel about it? Do you agree?
He made me want to get a job actually. Because I never had one. I haven't even done part-time or anything like that. But like, that sounds really nice actually.
Mm.
Makes me want to get
Having
a
a
really simple
job?
job. Yeah. Like anything, like I don't know, like working on cars or like cleaning something, mopping the floor,
It's,
mowing the lawn.
it's you know, 'cause that's another thing, you know, our culture not only against the male desire, but it's also we hate labor,
Yeah.
and they're connected. We think comfortable life is a good life. It's not. I'm sorry. So when he says,
That
Yeah.
reminded me of
Uh-huh.
when you talked about how male desires about using the body, the man using his body, and not only in the sexual sense but also like in the labor sense. I thought
yeah,
because that is also being restricted.
yes, it's to because if you just I think working your body is extremely important, especially for a man, because man's desire, to use Lacan's understanding, it's very partial. You, in a way, you can get sexually excited over a letter. That's male sexuality, right? So in a way, if you do not work your body more globally, you become even more partial in a way. So this kind of healthy labor, it's a sign of his extremely, I don't like the word, but healthy sexuality as well. It's just the opposite of, you know, obsession over, let's say, pornography, which is pervasive today. It's exact opposite.
What are you looking at me? What are you
No, I just
Every time my face goes this way, I make eye contact with you. It's like, what's happening here?
no, I just remember your example of like very masculine man and the mid, like the more like female-ish man.
Oh, you mean like Tetonam and Egennam?
Yeah.
That example I gave? Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess.
I was thinking about that because I don't think he's on either side. He just normal as a man should be.
Yeah, he's like the polar opposite of K-pop.
Idols.
Yeah.
Male idols.
I
Oh
mean,
my god, I want to go on a tangent again, but you just reminded me, like, I had an entire class, like a semester on like Bruce Lee films, and like in the context of that, the professor showed us K-pop music video, like there's a boy group, and they were paying homage to Bruce Lee basically, and like that was the whole point of the song in the video, and they were so they were all like shirtless and they had like bandages
my
and they were
God.
punching the air and stuff, but like just washboard, like nothing there, just flat, like. Eat a burger is basically my like reaction
Yeah,
to that video, and it's like, is this what's become? Okay, not to say like, you know, I'm the dictator of what should be like attractive or not, but like, is this really what is attractive? Like,
It's like
I know.
everyone is sexy, but no one is horny.
yeah, what?
I like the phrase. Yo, my.
That's like a really popular essay.
It
Like,
is?
The title is like everyone is sexy,
I need to read
but
that.
no one
yeah.
is horny.
What?
But I mean, I wanted to ask like, why is it that like K-pop idols is the opposite of, let's say, this man?
It's a body. Their body is the type of body that's not fit for labor,
Oh.
and yet it's all about. It's supposed to be attractive to women. I mean, do women really like these guys?
Yes.
I'm not a woman, so I don't.
I
Yes,
just
Maybe they're all
I
just
just
tricking
find
us.
it completely unbelievable.
I feel like only like high school or like freshman girls.
No, there are some
No,
adult women.
there are definitely women that find.
It's
these men
inconceivable to me. These K-pop
But I
stars.
feel like
Wait, is there a relationship between like the masculine, like the growth of masculinity in women and their preference toward these?
I don't know. I mean, they look like they get. I mean, no offense to K-pop stars. It's like, why is it that people love pets these days, like little pets?
Oh.
They
I
seem
mean,
in
to
a
me,
sense,
like
they look
K-pop stars, they look
domesticatable.
like they're like a similar choice.
they seem kind of castrated. Not like in the literal sense, but like,
Neutered.
Of course,
Yeah.
yeah, I understand. Yeah,
But I feel like K-pop stars are the best example of acceptable labor now.
What?
yeah, doing nothing. Although they probably work a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's
the thing
a
is,
lot,
that's
yeah.
the thing. Like
But they give you the fantasy of not having.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like-
yeah.
like let's say like a lawnmower
Yeah.
is like completely
Mm-hmm.
pushed away from like I don't know like mainstream
Right,
whatever.
right.
Spat on, basically, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean like these men they work really
Yeah,
really
yeah.
hard. You know like
Yeah.
they're literal child slave
Mhm.
child workers. Sorry,
Right.
but like they are groomed to
Yeah,
become these
Yeah, yeah.
empty men.
And like that's
That
becomes
dance.
that's idolized while like electricians and like buzzsaw workers like they're
Exactly.
looked down on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the whole point of like that was like my question is like what is that shift?
Mm. Always the correct answer is neoliberalism.
The woke left.
The big boogeyman of
Yeah.
academia.
But it's not wrong. That's the thing. I know we say it all the time, so it sounds like maybe it's not right. It's not wrong. It's because neoliberalism is not just the economic, structural, system. It's also the ethos.
I thought it was different, like same as he said, like when it said idol or something like that,
Mhm.
it's just beautiful or like you appreciate it, but you don't have sexual intentions towards it. No.
Yeah. So in a way, perhaps that's how sexuality is evolving now.
Yeah.
Sexuality, it's in name it's sexuality, but I don't know if you can call it that because in a way it's kind of divorced from the body that
Yeah.
does things.
Yeah. So that's what I found interesting about the difference between like attraction and sexual intention. That take the letter as an example, right?
Yeah.
Like it might be like the dude or the girl might be like gorgeous and I would say, oh, perfect, but I have no like sexual intentions towards the person, right? But that dude just literally have a sexual intention with the letter,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's how it works. Like they're like such a different thing, but
Yeah, but then in this story, I think it's not a substitute. It's not the letter is not a replace. It's not replacing
yeah, all
the physical sex, right?
Okay.
It's one can have sex every day, and feel that one is having a great time without ever feeling this event, this encounter that he feels with that letter, right? So so it's really a bizarre era today, like if newspaper articles are talking about how young people are not having sex, blah blah blah, but then they're sexually active in the sense that they use pornography, and also they're much more free with doing whatever they want to do, right? But then, so in the end, we cannot not question. I don't want to sound moralistic, but there is such a thing as quality of enjoyment, right? I mean, and it individually. That's also what happens for the protagonist in Norwegian Wood. After that hotel scene, he feels terrible. He feels bad. Why did I sleep with this girl? And he doesn't like it. So each person does evaluate whether they say it or not. If this enjoyment is good or not. So what does the woman want? The housewife, tall lady with big hands, drinking vodka.
She just seems so scary to me when I first
Yeah,
I was like, oh my.
You know,
I was like looking up subconsciously. I was like,
I was I was really attracted to her though.
oh no, but I do get it. I can completely get that. Like big, like tall, like huge hands woman, like drinking vodka. I can totally see the appeal in that. But like first impressions, I was kind of scared. But as like the story went on, I'm like, yeah, I can, yeah. But she's like 50.
Yo, what?
I don't know. I was really
But
drawn towards
I do get that. I do get that perspective though. I mean,
And,
like
like,
even I was to an extent.
when the man, he was obviously veering
Yeah,
away from
yeah.
her. I was shouting. I was like,
Go
why?
for her.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, when I read it, I was like, yes, they're gonna have sex.
No, but I get that.
Yeah.
Because the first story today, I was like, oh no, this feels kind of wrong. Like, I mean, I get it, it's going there, but like, I'd rather they don't. But this one, I was like, hey, like this seems kind of, I mean,
Like both of them are like so
Yeah.
sexy and sexually attractive. I'm like, why? Because if you read like the other texts before, like what's the other one?
the other one today.
No, the other like short stories.
100%.
No, the things that we are gonna
Kangaroo.
discuss.
Oh,
after.
later. Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you read those ahead, and there's a like plot sense of
Which one are you talking about?
I cannot remember exactly.
You mean Elephant Vanishes or Dancing Dwarf?
Barn burning?
No,
Yeah.
I think the ones that we deleted. I think.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So there's a plot of like men and women encounter, they meet, blah blah blah, they have sex, and then there's another plot rising, and then they have sex. But in this plot, it's very weird that two like very sexually attractive figure. I'm really curious like why Murakami doesn't make them to have that encounter at the end.
That's really interesting because this story from the very beginning, to me, it was very obvious this is not about sex. The way she's presented from the very beginning, you just know this is not about sex. You gotta read more.
The older woman.
The large woman in the second story.
Yeah, no, because because her lawn didn't need any mowing, right? And then he was like, I can come back in like a month or so. And then
I think you're the odd one out here, Professor.
No, it's not my imagination. Somebody said it in one of the classes in the past. Does the grass mean?
Yeah, that's
What?
that's exactly what I'm searching for.
well,
So-
but her being like, him telling her the lawn doesn't need any mowing. Then she's like, well, that's what I pay you for, so will you do it?
Oh, I see. So,
Like she's insisting on him being there for some reason.
but the way she comes out, she first comes out. She's like, "Who are you? What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
She completely forgot that she requested this service.
Mm.
So, and the fact that she's drinking, she seems like something's going on with her, which is on the side of sad. So I didn't get any sexual, vibes there.
I think we were just blindsided by how hot the guy was. Basically,
Yeah.
This seems like he seems like the classic like homewrecker archetype. Like come to your house as like a plumber. Like there's like a lonely housewife there.
Yeah.
Like he seems to fit that archetype so well. And
It's like what's eating Gilbert Grape?
The
What?
autistic
Yeah, but he's not the main guy. It's Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp. Yeah.
He would wreck any housewife.
oh.
That's
That's
such
exactly what it's
It's such a
what
random.
happened. Yeah,
But I think the term is home wrecker, not housewife wrecker.
sorry. I mean, okay, housewife ravager.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Right?
Ravage
Okay. Yeah.
is it better? But it's like in this one it felt so pornographic to me.
It just felt energetic. Like it's not just like this explicitly sexual, but like that's kind of how I perceived it
Right,
because
right,
I was
right.
just off of rereading the window story. So I was like, huh, is this like basically the same thing? Guy with a job goes to a lonely woman's house. Like, so like because I kind of had that tinted glasses,
I see.
like, it's like the story itself is just, this one is like if I put the energy of a window at like 10, this one was like 130 or something. Like it was a way higher, just like in general. So, I think that's why I kind of like, wait, yeah, is this where it's going?
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it felt pornographic.
No, but like I think Murakami did a good job of kind of staving that off, because like the woman is obviously so much older. She's not because in the first story you immediately get like, oh, I was surprised by her youthful appearance, but like this one you just kind of don't get any of that. She's kind of big, intimidating.
Right.
She's even more than that, her attitude is kind of gruff, and she kind of doesn't seem to want to have anything to do with like. But then later on, like she keeps on insisting you come in for a drink, and then it's like, wait, is this? But like, it kind of leaves me confused. But I think by the end of it, I was expecting something to happen, but it didn't.
No, I think I completely agree. Like I felt like the previous story was much more sexual, but
No, he's saying it's the opposite. You thought the second one is more sexual.
Yeah, it's a lot more energetic, but
Yeah.
like the context is.
like I'm saying, like I think the first one was much more sexual. Like it was much more. Maybe it's like the fact that there's even like hamburger steak, like that, like even like that medium in itself makes it more sexual in the first place. But like this one, like by the end of it, I felt like there was nothing pornographic anymore. But in the beginning, I felt like it was so pornographic.
I see. There's something. So I like that you're contrasting sexual and pornography.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Like it's much more violent.
Yeah, and also
Maybe.
when she, basically she orders him to do things. Open the closet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look
I
into
was
the
like,
drawers.
wait, like.
I
Can I
mean, like-
say this? But like, I felt like the guy was gonna open a drawer and find like a stack of condoms or something. I was like,
Yeah.
wait, what? It's like, oh, okay, never mind.
Right. But then already, when he's invited up the stairs.
Yeah, the hallway.
Yeah, I totally get that now. Okay, yeah,
But then-
pornographic, yeah.
He makes sure that you don't get that impression
Yeah.
because he feels like he's crossing a certain threshold. Time changes, time kind of stops in that space. So you kind of see that, oh, it's a space that is in mourning. That's where that's why she's drinking. She has these shoes out, she's polishing shoes, one big size and the other is small, which means hers and probably the girls. So you begin, and everything is clean, and yet, something's not right.
Like everything else inside the house is so disheveled and
Yeah.
messy.
Yeah, no, but inside, he says the kitchen is clean, but it's not like,
It's small, I think he meant. But there's dishes in the sink.
okay. I like that you remember the dishes in the sink.
Right.
But the point is that it's clean and yet not ordered, something like that.
Oh yeah.
You see what I mean? There's kind of there's no orientation in the space. Something is kind of unraveled, and so we already begin to see that there's some kind of sadness. Something's happening here, and then what's So what do you think she wants from him?
To bring the daughter back, I thought, because I thought
Yeah,
the daughter
how?
might have died.
Yeah.
And by imagining her, I don't know if the daughter died recently or not, but I think it was dusty. Her room, there was dust.
Dusty, but he says 1 month worth of dust.
So,
So there's a coincidence, a kind of clever coincidence between his breakup with a girlfriend and the girl dying probably just a month ago, because the calendar hanging on the wall, it's still June, and now it's July, and it's been about a month. So it looks like she's in mourning.
because if it was further away, I was thinking maybe the mother was starting to forget how the daughter would look but I do think she wants him to bring her back to life in a sense.
Yes, and what's interesting is that she can't. This kind of takes us back to what we were saying last time.
But I was asking, like, so why is she then? I mean, I know he's asking her to, but then why include the part of her verifying his guess? She was verifying because like he was asking like, "Am I on target?" And then the mother confirmed, "Yes, you are."
Yeah.
But then why include that? What?
Because that's exactly what you're saying. She's coming back to her through his language.
Okay.
So we talked about last time the third. The two cannot relate directly. It takes a third. In a way, he's serving
Yeah.
as the third, and he's a perfect person to do that because
He's meticulous and detail oriented, and she could see that when he was mowing the lawn.
yes, I mean that too, but I think there's a certain kind of a she sees her own dead husband in the way he does it, so it's not so much meticulous. It's like, oh, he can do what my husband used to do, but it's also, she mentions something about when he refuses to take the drink because he's still technically working, and she says, you have a healthy body and you won't get drunk, basically the point is. In other words, he's there as a meticulous help, but it's also him as a body.
There was also the detail with the narrator's father dying when he was like 16 or 15, and like he even says that like he was barely there, so like he was in a state in which he like basically wasn't ever in my life, like he was on the border of being on my life, and does that have like, is there something about like that kind of loss or deficiency that could be sensed in his presence, and like is that maybe a factor that played into the whole encounter they had, and like
I mean, it is possible, but I thought that because we have two events here, one is the breakup with the girlfriend and this encounter with the housewife, so we need to somehow read them together. So in that sense, the fact that the girlfriend wants to leave him because she feels that she cannot give him anything, and this housewife wants something from him. So whatever is not lacking in him, because in a way, if you think about it, love means, we of course think that I want someone perfect, but you don't love someone for being perfect. You love someone for what the person lacks. And then that lack can of course take the form of your ambition or whatever what you want, to achieve. So it's through the lack that I can love the other person, right? So in a way, the girlfriend is saying, I cannot love you because you're not lacking. You're the kind of guy who would enjoy this backbreaking work so thoroughly. You get a hard-on a couple of times, and then you are laughing at yourself for that, because he says, oh, that's pretty funny. Right? And she's like, what can I possibly give you?
I guess, the reason that she seeks him out as like this third, and then I guess like she needs like this like big other within her life, and then she finds that in him, is because he doesn't have like a lack or like an excessiveness to like his position in the symbolic order.
Yet, if he was really the big other, I don't think she would have asked him to be that third in this very intimate, very vulnerable situation. It's in a way, he has all the qualities to be the big other, and yet he is not. That's where you see the magical coincidence of this fullness, this presence with the lack that defines every subject.
So basically he becomes imperfect or lacking because of his breakup with the girlfriend, and that is why that he would be, the big third when the woman. I understand that the woman doesn't know that he break up, right? But we know that he break up with his girlfriend.
Yeah,
That's
I don't. But that's actually tricky because I do not know if if the breakup changes him at all, because at the end he says what he thinks about what the girlfriend said, and he
Yeah.
says actually he's saying she's right.
Yeah.
All I want to do is just to mow good lawns. Yeah, it's right. That's what I want.
It's funny because like people would read that nowadays and go like, oh, that's a sign of neurodivergency.
What?
like because the stereotype of like neurodivergent people is that they just like kind of they're really good at and they're really into one thing. So it's like, oh, that's Steve, he mows the lawn really well, like. Anyway.
So I don't know. I mean, what do you think? You were looking at it, Eric.
Yeah, I was looking at the because I was literally just thinking about what you said about him saying like all I wanted came to me was to mow a good lawn.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's what I was thinking of. But like it's like this miracle of like this person that's able to achieve this sort of I don't even know, like this
Yeah.
subjectivity, like this
Yeah.
personhood.
Yes.
And then
yes.
like not to go like ahead, but like I was thinking about barn burning
Yeah.
and the main character, like the protect, like the like in I forget his
the
name.
novelist or
The novelist.
Yeah, yeah.
The novelist.
Yeah.
Like that's who like when I read this, that completely escaped me. This like the subjectivity of this guy because he seems like such an ideal, and then like for me what encapsulated that sort of herodom or like this ideal was the novelist in Barn Burning.
Right.
But I feel like he's not the complete opposite, but like almost like the other side of this character
Yes,
here.
yes. I think so. And the difference is, of course, he's much younger.
Mhm.
He's, in college.
Yeah.
That guy is already in his 30s.
Yeah.
So in a way, that magic changes its form as one ages too.
It's also kind of sad because at the ending, like, he said this was like 14, 15 years ago. And at the end of the story, he says, not once since then have I mowed a lawn.
Yeah,
and that kind of feels really impactful when you like go through all this talk about like how significant him mowing the lawn is to him, basically, like to the point where it gives him a hard on. And it's like, not once since then has he mowed a single lawn. Like, it feels like rather significant to the story. The way
It's the counterpart of what he said. Like, I never blush these days. I rarely blush these days. I used to blush all the time back then. So there's the, but I don't know. What
Is
are
it
you thinking?
about the health? I think it also has to do with like the health of his body, maybe.
Yeah.
Because like he's using his body, and then like she comments on how healthy his body is, and I think that constitutes to like why he has like the qualities to be. He could be the big third, but he's not, as he said. But then he stopped mowing the lawn, and not to deteriorate, but like he just like ages. His body ages, I guess.
Yeah, there's that aspect. But I feel when she says you have a healthy body, she's of course not talking about like the healthy body as we consider today. Taking a lot of supplements and go to the gym. It's not that kind of. It's a body that enjoys itself, right? And when you encounter a body like that, you know it. You kind of know it, kind of like Meursault, in The Stranger by Camus. He has a body that knows what enjoyment is. It's but just one last thing. So here, what he says about the girl, the woman's daughter, is also very interesting. There we kind of have a sense of what the girl meant in our 100% girl, because I gave you that question, like if it's not 100% girl, what is it? and I say it's not a boy, right? Here we have a kind of answer. It's the girl who's by all signs is dead now, and his description is what? She hasn't really taken to anything. Did you notice that? This is a very
Which page is that?
magical. 288. Top of the page. I can't tell, blah blah, but that's neither here nor there. What matters is she hasn't really taken to anything. Her own body, the things she thinks about, what she's looking for, what others seek in her, the whole works. So what does that mean? She hasn't really taken to anything.
She's not perfect right now. No.
Not quite. I mean, since we don't have a lot of time, I will have to tell you what I think. It simply means that she hasn't signed on to any discourse. She has no idea what she's supposed to be, what she's supposed to want. So the opposite, or the what is given to her as not the girl is precisely the girlfriend, who begins to see that she has to situate herself in some discourse, and this guy doesn't fit that discourse. But she's still young enough that she understands that's what's going on. That's why she keeps saying, you're a wonderful person, I really still like you, but I don't know how I can explain this, but I just can't be with you. This is what she says. So we see the girl and what is no longer a girl in the form of that girlfriend, which we can maybe call a woman. I think that's enough for today.